What up, racer? ItsJerone here, and welcome back. We're back again with league racing, and we're also getting into the double digits now when it comes to the rounds that we've had in the AOR season. This is round number 10, and we're here at home turf for me around Zandvoort aan Zee. And of course, ideally I would like to win this race, and I'm gonna try my best to do exactly that. So we're starting off with qualifying, and I was slowing down before the line there, because ideally I don't want to start on softs. Looking at the championship, I'm 21 points ahead of Solid Ninja, and 39 ahead of my teammate. And collectively with my teammate, we're leading the championship right now. And unless we both DNF a couple of races, most likely we won't give away this lead. So as you can see, I had slowed down before the line and currently have 2 purple sectors to my name. But of course I'm in 10th place because I slowed down right before the line. And I wanted to try and qualify on the mediums. So looking at my first attempt now, and honestly, if I told you I got distracted by the fact that Pedro retired from the session, you probably won't believe me, but that actually is what happened. Honestly, you will be surprised at how many things I look where I shouldn't be looking at whilst I'm driving. It's kind of crazy. Like, that's definitely something I need to improve. So then I went for a second run, and this time going through Schijfvlak, and I actually just lose it on the pure aerodynamics of the car. I know my car setup is a little bit unstable, and I hadn't done an insane amount of practice on these mediums, or in fact for the whole race weekend I haven't done a lot of practice. And I knew it could happen, and unfortunately it did happen, that I lost control over the car there. So in the end I have it all to do on my final run here in qualifying, and as you can see, left time to do a second run in case I messed up this one as well. And let's put a time on the board. Enjoy the lap.
Just 30 seconds left in the session.
Crossing the line then, I was a 10th up on my first banker lap I had set right at the start of the session, and this lap was, well, sort of okay. I only missed the apex at turn 1, and you could probably tell my confidence wasn't the highest, so I didn't attack all the corners properly. But besides that, I still got pole position for the moment, and there's only one more car to cross the line now. And that is Gabs, who retired from the session. He would have taken pole otherwise if he didn't crash out at the final corner. And somehow, even though I ideally would have liked to start on the medium compounds, I still got pole position this race with my teammate P9 and Rally Monster, the highest qualified medium runner of this session, in P8. Only with 12 drivers today, which is not optimal. The participation rate will go up in the future again. Having a little scroll through all the sector times, and I think overall my lap was the most consistent out of anyone's, and also the best in the end. So for the strategy, I want to do a soft to medium. I only practiced one race run, and I went on the medium compound, and it felt quite good. And right before the session I was doing a little bit of practice with my teammate, and there I tried out the hard tires, and to be honest it didn't feel like they were much worse. So in theory we'll have to see what happens during the race, whether massive DRS change form and how important track position will be at the time, because as you might know from the real life race, it's not particularly easy to overtake around here when you're on the same strategy. Anyways, 5 red lights are coming on, and historically my starts have been quite good over this season, and once again just an absolutely lightning start and easily clear into turn 1. Pasty got quite a poor run off the line, and he does manage to keep his second place position, as somewhere further back Bankai and Tash are fighting. Solid Ninja and Gab's getting involved as well. But for me, I'm clear in the first lap and already on a 6/10 gap to my nearest competitor, AVT Pasty, in this race. So I tried to break DRS here. Of course, you don't want to crash out in the first lap, but I took it, I think, quite well, quite committed as well. And in the end, I couldn't quite do it. Perhaps if I'd spammed my ERS a lot more, I think I could have had a chance to break the DRS. But overall, I wasn't fast enough to do that, and I think on pure race pace, quite a few people actually were faster than me this race. So it will be quite interesting to see whether I can keep everyone behind. So now DRS has been activated, and you can see him going a little bit defensive here, whilst Pasty was closing up significantly here using his DRS. So perhaps he was running a little bit of lower wings than I did. I'm running 10-11 wings for this race, which is, well, I would say quite standard for Zandvoort. I think I was 8 in the speed trap or something, Jeff said. So I'm definitely on the slower side in the speed trap. Then heading on to the next lap, Pasty managed to stay quite close. He's only 5/10 behind here at the start of the DRS straight, and I think he's using plenty here. So I wanted to stay ahead for one more lap, and then we would try and work together perhaps. But then I left him the space on the inside, and I'm not sure what happened, but even before the apex, or well, a little bit after the turning point, we made contact and Pasty's been spun round. So personally, I don't think this was my fault. I think I left him, well, at the time I thought I left him even more space on the inside. In hindsight, it wasn't as much space as I thought, but still it was more than a car's width before the apex of the corner. So I personally think this is mostly his fault. Last year I also had contact here with Pasty at that exact same corner. That time it definitely was my fault. This time I don't think I have anything to reproach myself, as now once again I was the second clear by the time Pasty spun. A second clear ahead of Tash. And unfortunately I couldn't quite do it, couldn't keep him out of my DRS range. So we're on lap 9 now. I'm planning to pit on lap 12, but Rally Monster retired from the session and there's a safety car. So unlucky for Tash, it was looking like we would get involved into a good fight here. Well, we shouldn't have been fighting too much, because ideally we would have liked to maintain our gap to Gabs. But that doesn't matter at this stage anymore, because we have a safety car. And this was quite an awkward moment for me. I wasn't quite sure whether I wanted to go for hards or for the medium compound. And due to the practice I did before the race, I thought the hards wouldn't be too much worse. And for myself, I considered that the mediums could do about a 26 lap stint. So that's exactly sort of where we are at this safety car window. And I thought, let's just play it safe here. We'll go onto the hard compound tires. But everyone behind me, in the form of Tash and Gabs especially, have decided to go for medium tires, whilst Sastar and Cronexus decided to stay out. Sastar got ahead of me, then fortunately for me, Cronexus is splitting myself and Tash. So that's one car in between us. So that's good for the race, or at least for my race, because Tash has one extra obstacle to face. Anyways, we're ready for the restart, and there's a little bit of lag involved here. I'm not sure whether this was on my end or on Saz's end, but I did hear my party audio relative to my teammate who I was in party chat with fall away a little bit, so perhaps it was mine. I think it was my internet that was the problem here. But we're on the way for the restart, and these hard tires are stone cold at this point. Of course, I tried to get a bit of heat into them at the restart, but they're still quite cold, and the mediums warm up a lot quicker at this phase. So fortunately, I got quite a good restart there, and I got a bit of a gap to Crow behind. In the meanwhile, though, you can see Sastar definitely is pulling away, and also I think overall these medium tires were not too bad at all. Even after 12 laps, they were still like equal pace basically with my hard tires, perhaps a little bit slower. So by that logic, Tash and Gabs should be a lot faster than Crow, who is now about half a second behind. In the meanwhile though, I'm already 9/10 behind Sastar in this warm-up phase for the hard compound tires again. But I think at this stage my tires are reaching 90 degrees again, and they're getting into the temperature window again, and we can start pushing. So I had to use a little bit of ERS to make sure I would catch up to Sastar again, but of course I'm not really racing Sastar and Crow here. They're on a different strategy. They want to try something else by staying out on their medium compound tires, and in case there's a safety car, it could work out for them later on in this race. Anyway, so lap 16, I missed my apex there for the right-hander leading onto this straight, and if I hadn't made that mistake, I probably could have gone for an overtake here. But in the meanwhile, I have to look behind a little bit, because Crow is also closing up on me, and so are Tash and Gabs. And yeah, at this point I knew, okay, I need to get this move on. In this phase, my hards were nice and warm again, and I think I also had better grip at this point than Sas and Crow on their old medium compound tires. So let's try and set up the move this time, and hopefully I don't miss the apex this time. No, I actually take it quite nicely. Good traction as well. I didn't dare to keep on the overtake through the banked corner, but then Sas actually pulls into the pit lane, and I was a bit annoyed by that. I would have loved to actually make that overtake on track, but it is what it is. And you can also see a McLaren has put it into the wall, and that's a VSC. It's pasty, but he's not out of the race. And I'm not sure what's the case with virtual safety cars, but they take quite long. Alright, I think we've reached the 12th floor of the building, and let's get underway for the restart. And I timed this very nicely, only 2/10 left on the delta whilst accelerating. And furthermore, Tash didn't time his restart as well as I did, and he gets a drive-through penalty for this race. So at this stage my main competitor of the race is on a drive-through. Tash was looking really strong here on his medium compound tires, but he made a mistake, and he's essentially out of contention for the win of this race. Then you can see a couple of laps later, and Gabs is looking to make a move on Crow Nexus. You can also see that by the fact they're only 2 seconds behind, that these hard tires were not great, even relative to old mediums. As in the meanwhile, Gabs and Crow are losing themselves a little bit more time, because I think Crow was putting up a bit of a fight there for Gabs, and I think he's actually been spun round on the exit, or he lost it himself on the exit. And well, he's still in the race, so maybe he can make something work on his alternative strategy. Anyways though, for my race, Gabs is now 2.3 seconds behind, and this was a horrendous lap. You could see there a couple of moments ago, in turn 3 I was about to hit the curb for the right-hander, and you don't want to touch that curb because that will spin you around, so I had to turn out of the corner. And then later on towards the end of the lap I got quite a massive oversteer moment on the exit for good measure as well. So in that lap I lost like 7/10 to Gabs, which is not optimal. And he was a lot quicker on his medium compound. Pay attention to the top left, that's what this clip is meant for. And you can see he's slowly eating into the gap that I have. And you can see Solid Ninja quite close behind as well. He's essentially on the same strategy as Gabs. Tash is, of course, nowhere near anymore due to his drive-through penalty. Then Sastar on the alternative strategy coming through on soft compounds, but lap 30 out of 36, he's still 14 seconds behind. But you can also see I missed my apex for that right-hander. And more crucially, I'm also making a mistake, or at least I get a massive moment there, through the banked corner leading onto the straight. And that now means that Gabs is within DRS range. I really was not expecting to get a snap there in the fast right-hander. I hadn't experienced that before. And yeah, you can see now that really invited Gabs back into this race. And he's within half a second now. I can say at this stage he's on about 15% ERS, whereas I'm on about 25 to 30%. So I do have a little bit of an ERS advantage, which I didn't know at the time. But you can also see that Solid made a mistake somewhere over the last few laps. And more importantly, you know what's coming when we zoom in on the minimap again. Somebody is about to make a mistake, and this time it is Marcus in the Haas. And it is another safety car. So I think I got really lucky here, because I feel like the mediums were still equally as fast as the hard tires at this stage. And it was really looking like it would be a nice final 4-lap scrap between me and Gabs. And that's once again been ruined by the safety car. So no real strategy can be performed here. No ERS savings by Gabs. No tactical defense by me, and actually safety car already coming in 1 lap later, which perhaps I should have expected more, but now once again I'm on quite cold tires. And this was not the ideal scenario for me, not a scenario which I was hoping for. Here desperately trying to heat up my rear tires at least. My fronts will always remain at about 80 degrees under these speeds. And I was really scared here, because you know that the medium tires warm up a lot quicker than these hard compound tires. And I decided to go relatively early on the straight, and it's actually a good enough restart to be clear into turn 1. And now I just have to defend for 2 more laps from Gabs in order to win this race. Or perhaps if Solid could make something work, he could get past as well. In the meanwhile, my teammate's up to P4 in this race, but with a 3-second time penalty. So most likely she will fall back quite a bit over the last few laps. And you can just see that at this stage, fortunately, the hard compound tires were better than the medium tires. And I managed to keep or get temperatures back into my hard compound tires. And in the end, there was nothing much Gabs could do anymore. We were both on a lot of ERS again. And yeah, really unlucky for him, and I think I got really fortunate here. In literally all the scenarios this race, first of all at the start where I got a clean start, then Pasty spinning out, then a safety car coming out when Tash was about to put me under pressure, then Kronex is coming in between me and Tash, then later on Tash getting a drive-through penalty at the VSC restart. And then right at the deck when Gabs had caught up and it was about to be a very exciting end to this race, another safety car came out, which I do think saved me quite a bit and in the end secured me the win. Of course I had to keep it on track during this race, but I think I got really lucky there. And perhaps I just need to go to a local store where I can buy some lottery tickets. So really glad I won my home race here. I was not expecting it after the practice I had done for this race, but after the pole position, that gave me a lot of confidence back again, especially after the double spin on the medium compound. And also I'm extending my championship lead a little bit more, because Solid has finished in 3rd place, so that's another 10 points relative to him. This is the 4th race in a row now where I finish in 2nd place or higher, so I'm really glad about that, and yeah, winning your home race is always special. Anyways, I think it was essential to get this gap to Solid early, because there are quite a few difficult races for me coming up, and starting off with Monza in 2 weeks' time. We have a break week now, so I'll see you after the break. If you fancy subscribing to the channel, then please do so, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time for AOR. In the meanwhile, FRL videos will continue and perhaps some others as well. See ya!